I had a confession to make. I knew who Nina was before I had met her, and I didn't know how to tell her that.
So when were you going to tell me this?
I don't know, it was a deep secret. I've been holding on to it for so long. And it was the only thing I was keeping a secret. But I felt so guilty about it because once you get past that point where you should have told someone something, then like every day that passes, it's just worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. So start from the beginning, but be quick about this.
Okay, so when Nina won Miss America,
I
started following her.
You did it!
And I lined up a very long series of events to organize us meeting 10 years later.
No, you didn't. Stop it.
Okay, fine. But I was supposed to be introduced to Nina in 2019. I think it was like January 2019 or something like that. One of my closest friends in business school, he was like, hey, there's this girl. I know her. She's single. Do you want to be introduced? And he shows me a picture, and I was like, yes, I do. And I remember him so vividly enunciating. He's like, she was a former Miss America. And I just remember, and he has just such a distinct way of talking.
Yes.
Especially stuff like that. And he was just so much enunciating. I was like, cool, let's do it. Like, I'm down.
But
and
like, did you have feelings? Like, were you just like you probably did expect diva, like you said.
Totally, yeah. Yeah.
You were fine with that.
I mean, I was like, let's give this a shot.
You're like, all right, it's a bucket list item.
I mean, it was more just like, look, if you have the opportunity to meet someone like that, then yeah, let's do it. But I mean, I also feel like people are people, you know, and there's also like a public perception and obviously what's real life too. It's just, I think with someone like you, before there's YouTube, before there's like open Instagram, you know, like Instagram used to be so curated too, right? Now it's so much more open and you're showing who you are and, you know, a layer deeper on your thoughts. But before that, it was like you and many other people have such a curated Instagram, right? And so, and public facing persona in general. And so. Back then. And so, yeah, I mean, I was curious, but that's all I had to go on. But I don't want to make it sound like I did all this research or something like that. It was literally that moment that my friend told me that, showed me the picture. I was like, let's do it. And then he just dropped the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, you were living in New York.
So I never got that message. Like, I never knew that Ryan existed. Like, this friend, our mutual friend, like never told me, hey, I want to set you up with someone, or hey, I have a friend for you that you might be interested in. That was never ever passed on. So I just never got the memo.
Yeah. And you were in New York, I was in Philadelphia. And I remember I like asked like right when I moved to New York, and then he was like, just get settled first and then you're not ready yet. Let's get you settled first in New York and get into the rhythm and things like that. You just started a new job, this and that. So.
And then fast forward to 2020.
Yes, we match on the league, and I see her pop up right away. I take a screenshot. I send it to my friend. I'm like, hey, look who just popped up. And then I accept it, right? Like, or whatever, you know, swipe basically. And then I was actually surprised. I was like, that we matched.
It was meant to be.
It was meant to be. And so I remember I sent him the screenshot, said yes, and then like, I think pretty much right away we either matched or, you know, a day later, and then I sent him the message. I was like, holy shit, we matched. And I was like, what do I need to know? And I think he's really great about it, honestly. It wasn't like trying to build you up as a person or tear you down as a person. It was just like, he didn't even try to do that much. He was just like, look, she's a great girl. You should get to know her. And I was like, that's great, but like, I need a good message to stand out on like dating app, because I feel like someone like you probably gets a million messages and it doesn't stand out, right? And so I got the inside intel that you really like Harry Potter. That was actually all he gave me. He was like, well, a dog's name's Dobby, so I think she likes Harry Potter. So that's all I had.
It's a safe assumption.
That's all I had.
your dating profile was obviously very curated, but in like a fun way. You checked all the boxes of like how I would curate my dating profile. You know, you had the solo shots, the friend shots, the family shots, the fun shots, the travel shots, you got it all. And so like, it's true with social media, like, or sorry, with dating apps, like it's very superficial at this first swipe, right? And so I thought you were very attractive. And you were probably, I'm not even kidding, like probably one of the most, if not the most attractive person I'd seen on the apps in a very long time. No offense to New York people.
Bad cycle.
It's just, yeah, like I was just meant to meet you. And so like, yeah, so like initially, like, and you had, I'm shamelessly a resume chaser. Like I wanted certain things.
You were.
I was.
You used to be.
I certainly wanted certain things. And so like you had checked a lot of boxes. And what sealed the deal after we matched was your opening line, because no one had ever sent me something like that. And it was, hey, let's play 2 truths and a lie. And I was like, oh, like he's fun. Like this is, like no one had ever been like playful like that. It was just like, hey, what's up? Like it's very generic openings. And this was like curated, but in a good way.
Yeah, it's Richard and Andrew. You know, we're sitting around on Sunday afternoon watching football. I'm like, I gotta come up with a good message. All I know is that she likes Harry Potter. That's all I had. Oh, Lisa sent a bunch of pickup lines.
Yeah.
They're pretty aggressive.
He had good friends in his corner to like make it happen. So yeah, we did that, and then we met, and then the rest was history. But then you had to tell me.
Oh yeah, I had to confess
that you knew all this. So this was after we had the conversation about ushers. It was, we'd been pretty like a few months deep.
Yeah, and I felt like it was COVID, so I felt like the relationship moved super quickly in a sense, you know, where there's nothing, one is like no other people to distract you, and then there's no other things to distract you during COVID. And so it was like New York dating so hard because it's like, what do you have? You have your Saturday and your Sunday, maybe your Friday, and like it gets packed, right?
Yeah.
But like with COVID, it was like everything was dead.
It was Thanksgiving.
It was around Thanksgiving.
Of 2020, yeah. And we weren't going home with our families because of COVID, so we were all in New York. And we were sitting outside on the stoop of my steps. And I could like feel your heart like pounding out of your chest. Like something was just, it wasn't off, it was just like weird. And I was like, okay, like he's just nervous, anxious, there's something happening, but I didn't know what. And you were like, I have something to confess to you. And it was so dramatic. Yeah, you were like, I have something that I have to confess. And whenever you get like nervous, anxious, or like mad at yourself or mad at the world, you always have like this tick where you like shake your head. And you were doing that, and I didn't know that at the time because we just still new. So I was just like, okay, like is this bad? Like I just didn't even have an expectation of what it was. So I was like kind of preparing for almost like the worst of like, this is really bad, maybe you don't want to continue this, like I don't know, are we not on the same page, is kind of where I went. But then you go on to say,
I don't know, you have such a clear memory of this, so I didn't remember we were on the stoop.
So you like put your hand on my leg and you're just like looking down because you can't even look at me, and you're like, so I knew you were Miss America. And I was like, okay. And you're like, but before we met. And I was like, okay. And you're like, and it's been weighing on me because I feel like I didn't tell you that I knew who you were, and I feel like I've been lying. And then you just started like fumbling, kind of like going into this. And I was like, wait, okay, so like, I was like, so that's, my first reaction was like, that's it?
Yeah,
and you're
I
like,
remember that.
And you're like, yeah. I was like, okay, that's fine, that's cool, like that whatever. And I was just like, tell me more. And then you told me like the whole story of like how it actually, what we just told you basically is what you told me. And I was like, that makes sense. Yeah. Like after all of it, like the dots connected of just like the opening line and everything. But at this point, I didn't feel like, what's the word? betrayed, led on, catfished. I don't know.
I don't know. You say I catfished you a lot. So.
I just didn't feel that way because we had gotten to know each other so well, and knowing you even at that point, and just like how you were like sweating and like your demeanor, like it was so genuine. Of like you didn't.
I wasn't sweating.
You were 100% sweating.
All right.
And like it just felt so genuine that I knew it wasn't like, it was almost like I didn't know if this was going to be a real thing, and it is a very real thing, and now I feel bad that I've kept it from you, and yeah, it didn't really necessarily bother me at all because I felt really secure about us.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, you took it very well, which I was happy about. I don't know. It felt like such a. I know, but like back then, you're still figuring it out, and I think it's also like I don't like researching people.
Yeah.
I'll do like the lightest research for like work stuff, but like from a personal perspective, like I just hate. I just don't. I want people to. I remember I asked you like on our maybe it's like 5th date or something like that. I was like, how do you like to be introduced? Like you were Miss America.
I was like, in Miss America?
No, you weren't like that. But, you know, I just feel like I want someone, especially someone who has a public-facing persona, to be able to define themselves the way they want to be defined, especially in like a more private moment that's not their public persona, you know? And, you know, I feel like we see this kind of, maybe not all the time, you know, but we see this in our day-to-day life now where we do cross paths with people who have a very public persona as well. And it's like, you know, they're in those private moments, they can be very different.
Yeah.
Right?
For sure.
And,
I mean, I was like for so long, like it took me so long to be me out in public because I was so curated for so long, and you're a part of a brand like Miss America for so long.
Yeah.
And that comes with expectations. And I was past the point where I was like, my success and what I do and accolades don't define me. I just want to be introduced as Nina. Like, I don't like, oh, she does this. And I feel like so many people, when you start noticing it, is like, oh, this is my friend, she's in this. Or this is my colleague, they do this. Like, you care so much about what they're doing and their titles. And I feel like I was at that point where I was letting go of all of that. And even in finding you, that's not what you valued, which is why we worked.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a whole longer conversation around that, you know, on like how people choose to introduce themselves or choose to introduce their friends. And it's so interesting. I have some friends that are, the first thing they do is introduce, this is Ryan, this is what he does for work.
Yeah. Or
this is Ryan, he's dating Nina. You know, like I have friends who will introduce me that way. And it's interesting to see that because I'm like, I'm not asking for that. I don't care for that, you know, but I think it's interesting to see what people value, and I don't think less of my friends or anything like that for anything like that, you know. It's just, like their work is a way they identify themselves.
Yeah.
Or something they're associated with is a way they identify themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. And in fact, that's more normal than not, you know. But it's the same thing that we talk about sometimes, and I'm sure you've shared it on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, but like, you don't want to have conversations where people talk about their work. Mm-hmm. And it's like so fun to like meet someone at a wedding and then you talk and it's like work never came up. Mm-hmm. New York is very much what do you do, mm-hmm. right? Or LA, who do you know, or what have you. Remember Philly was like, how do I know you? And mm-hmm. It was just like very like family oriented, like, you know, people who stayed around that area. So there's always going to be something like that. I mean, I think it's normal, but at the same time, it's like, well, how does the person want to be introduced? How does the person want to be?
Yeah.
What's the person most proud of?
You're right.
I guess.
Yeah.
And how did they want to present themselves? Mm-hmm. So.
And are you a good human? That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah, for sure. So. After you said you were a resume chaser, so.
That was then. This is now.
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of growth.
All right, so we're gonna leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. What is next week's video gonna be? What did I say?
Serious stuff?
It is serious stuff. I think this is really where I'm confessing. Yeah, you confessed And I'm confessing my baggage, emotional baggage, mental health baggage to Ryan because I hadn't told him any of this yet. So that is me sharing my sober journey with Ryan. You can watch that video that I shared. It's on my channel. It's called My Sober Story, which like talks about me, but like this is specifically to our relationship. And I feel like it's helpful because if you are someone who is newly sober and going through it, you kind of struggle with like, oh, should I even be in a relationship right now? Because you're just discovering so much about yourself. And I think it's important to just share. And I was terrified. I was terrified of telling you this. So yeah, that is next episode, next video. But other than that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Please subscribe, like, share, do all the YouTube things.
I don't think you're supposed to say that anymore.
Oh, no? Okay.
Yeah, it messes up the algorithm.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time.
On YouTube.
Bye. High five. That was awesome.